I mean, how do you look at Microsoft from an Apple perspective? I mean, you compete in computers and...
If you look at the reason that the iPod exists and that Apple's in that marketplace, it's because these really great Japanese consumer electronics companies who kind of owned the portable music market for a long, invented it and owned it, couldn't do the appropriate software. Couldn't conceive of and implement the appropriate software. Because an iPod's really just software. It's software in the iPod itself, it's software on the PC or the Mac, and it's software in the cloud for the store. And it's in a beautiful box, but it's software. If you look at what a Mac is, it's OS 10, right? It's in a beautiful box, but it's OS 10. And so the big secret about Apple, of course, not so big secret maybe, is that Apple views itself as a software company. And there aren't very many software companies left. And Microsoft is a software company. And so, you know, we look at what they do and we think some of it's really great. And we think some of it's, a little bit of it's competitive and most of it's not. Alan Kay had a great quote back in the 70s, I think. He said, people that love software want to do their own hardware. You know?
Well, Bill loves software.
No, I can resist that. The question is, are there markets where the innovation and variety you get is a net positive? The negative is that in the early stage, you really want to do the two together. So you want to do prototyping and things like that, you know, really is one thing. And then let's take the phone market. We think we're on 140 different kinds of hardware. We think it's beneficial to us that even if we did a few ourselves, it wouldn't give us what we have through those partnerships. Likewise, if you take the robotics market, very undeveloped. We have over 140 all tiny volume robots using Microsoft software. And the creativity, building toys, security things, medical things. We love the innovation and the ecosystem that's going to grow up, who knows when, but we're patient, around that, and we'll have a great asset with this robotic software platform. So there are things like PC, phone, and robot where the Microsoft choice is to go for the variety. Apple's great. They're, you know, for them, they do what works super well for them.
You know, do you ever regret, was there something you might have wanted to do differently? And maybe you feel like this happened after you left Apple. Something you might have done differently that where you could have had a much bigger market share for the Mac?
Well, before I answer that, let me make a comment on Bill's answer there, which is, it's very interesting in the consumer market and the enterprise market. They're very different spaces. And in the consumer market, at least, I think one can make a pretty strong case that outside of Windows on PCs, it's hard to see other examples of the software and hardware being decoupled working super well yet. It might in the phone space over time. It might. But it's not clear. It's not clear. You can see a lot more examples of the hardware-software coupling working well. And so I think this is one of the reasons we all, you know, come to work every day, is because nobody knows the answer to some of these questions, and we'll find out over the coming years. Maybe both will work fine.
Is there some moment you feel like I should have done this or Apple should have done that and we could have had?
There's a lot of things that happened that I'm sure I could have done better when I was at Apple the first time, and a lot of things that happened after I left that I thought were wrong turns, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, and you kind of got to let go of that stuff, and you know, we are where we are. So we tend to look forward, and you know, one of the things I did when I got back to Apple 10 years ago was I gave the museum to Stanford and all the papers and all the old machines, and kind of cleared out the cobwebs and said, let's stop looking backwards here. It's all about what happens tomorrow. And because you can't look back and say, well, gosh, you know, I wish I hadn't gotten fired, I wish I was there, I wish this, I wish that. It doesn't matter. And so let's go invent tomorrow rather than worrying about what happened yesterday.
Ele, durante uns 2, 3 anos, ele se apresenta como CEO interino, ou no modo de Steve Jobs, no I-CEO, I-CEO, e começa a pensar como deve ser essa transformação. O primeiro passo é uma campanha publicitária, o Think Different, pense diferente. E dessa forma ele relembra aos consumidores o que a Apple representa, uma maneira diferente de você pensar em computadores pessoais. O segundo passo é um computador completamente diferente. Ele encontra um belo designer na equipe da Apple, Jonathan Ive, faz um computador branco com a traseira feita com plástico translúcido azul, é uma forma diferente. Ele chama esse computador de iMac. O passo seguinte é uma estratégia que vai revolucionar por completo a indústria da tecnologia, que é pensar no computador não mais como um aparelho que serve para você resolver coisas, mas pensar no computador como o centro, eles chamam em inglês de hub, né, de nó, de toda a sua vida. O que nós conhecemos hoje, ao longo dessa virada de século dos anos 2000, começa a se desenvolver.
How do you look at the landscape at this moment and what's happening, especially in the internet space?
I think it's super healthy right now. I think there's a lot of young people out there building some great companies who want to build companies, who aren't just interested in starting something and selling it to one of the big guys, but who want to build companies. And I think there's some really exciting companies getting built out there. Some next generation of stuff that you know, some of us play catch up with, and you know, some of us find ways to partner with and things like that. But there's a lot of activity out there now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say it's a healthy period.
Yeah.
The notion of what the new form factors look like, what natural interface can do, the ability to use the cloud, the internet, to do part of the task in a complementary way to the local experience. There's a lot of invention that the whole approach of startups, the existing companies who do research, we'll look back at this as one of the great periods of invention.
I think so too. There's a lot of things that are risky right now, which is always a good sign, you know, and you can see through them. You can see to the other side and go, yes, this could be huge, but there's a period of risk that, you know, nobody's ever done it before.
Do you have an example that would, for example?
I do, but I can't say.
Okay.
And so, but I can say, when you feel like that, that's a great thing.
Right.
That's what keeps you coming to work in the morning, and and it tells you there's something exciting around the next corner.
Em que momento nós estamos quando essa entrevista acontece? Segundo semestre de 2007. O iPhone acaba de ser lançado. E não foi um aparelho fácil de ser desenvolvido. Por quê? O Jobs queria que o iPhone usasse toda a sua superfície como tela. Para você usar toda a superfície como tela, para ter uma tela maior, para ver fotografia, vídeo, tudo mais, para navegar na internet, você não pode ter botões. Então ele precisava de uma tecnologia que permitisse você interagir com o telefone sem a existência de botões. Existia um grupo na Apple desenvolvendo isso. Era um grupo que estava desenvolvendo um tablet. Até esse período, Jobs negava veementemente, e continuou negando veementemente nos anos seguintes, que a Apple sequer estivesse pensando em fazer um tablet. Mas ele queria fazer um tablet. E um dos conceitos que ele tinha na cabeça para um tablet é, olha, você não pode usar uma caneta, você não pode usar nada, você tem que interagir com o tablet usando a sua mão. E ele não pode lembrar o sistema de um computador, ele tem que ser intuitivo no uso da mão. Essa tecnologia já estava desenvolvida. O iPad não estava nem próximo de ficar pronto, mas a tecnologia essencial estava desenvolvida. Essa tecnologia foi usada primeiro no iPhone. No entanto, nesse momento, a grande obsessão de Steve Jobs era quando que nós vamos ter o nosso tablet pronto para lançar no mercado.
Okay, but so the two of you have certainly you're involved every day with the internet. You have internet products. You have a whole slew of stuff on the internet. You have iTunes and .Mac and all of that. But on another level, you're the guys who represent the rich client, the personal computer, the, you know, big operating system and all that. And there is a certain school of thought, and I'm sure it's shared by some people in the room, that this is all migrating to the cloud and you'll need a fairly light piece of hardware that won't have to have all that investment, all the kind of stuff you guys have done throughout your careers. So as much as people might think of you as rivals, one way to think of you as the two guys.
They were both dinosaurs? Huh? They were both dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs or whatever. I can talk about that? No. Seriously, is
You're
there,
betting on
in
a system
5
that is
years,
changing.
in 5 years, is the personal computer still going to be the linchpin of all this stuff?
Well, you can say that it'll be predicted that it won't be. You know, the network computer took us over about, 5 years ago, we disappeared. Remember the single function computer? There was somebody who said that these general purpose things are kind of a dumb idea. That took us over. The mainstream is always under attack. The thing that people don't realize is that you're going to have rich local functionality. I mean, at least our bet. As you get things like speech and vision, as you get more natural form factors, it's a question of using that local richness together with the richness that's elsewhere. And as you look at the device, say, that's connecting to the TV set or connecting in the car, there are lighter weight hardware internet connections. But when you come to the full screen, rich, you know, edit the document, create things, you know, I think we're nowhere near where we can be on making that stronger.
I'll give you a concrete example. I love Google Maps, use it on my computer, you know, in a browser. But when we were doing the iPhone, we thought, wouldn't it be great to have maps on the iPhone? And so we called up Google, and they'd done a few client apps in Java on some phones, and they had an API that we worked with them a little on. And we ended up writing a client app for those APIs. They would provide the back-end service. And the app we were able to write, since we're pretty reasonable at writing apps, blows away any Google Maps client. Just blows it away. Same set of data coming off the server, but the experience you have using it is unbelievable. It's way better than the computer. And just in a completely different league than what they'd put on phones before. And you know, that client is the result of a lot of technology on the client, that client application. So when we show it to them, they're just blown away by how good it is. And you can't do that stuff in a browser.
Nesse momento, o Jobs começa a vê-los como concorrentes. Qual era a grande implicância que o Jobs tinha com a turma do Google? Ele achava que eles eram grandes engenheiros e que, no entanto, eram incapazes de fazer máquinas atraentes ou softwares atraentes. Nesse momento da relação do desenvolvimento do iPhone, o que ele tenta mostrar para o Sergey Brin e para o Larry Page do Google, os fundadores do Google, é justamente isso. Olha, vocês têm essa peça de engenharia fantástica que é o Google Maps e, no entanto, vocês não conseguem fazer um software para ler esses mapas bem. E ele faz isso. Ele faz um software que usa o sistema do Google e, no entanto, transparece para o leitor de forma muito mais simples. São várias mudanças que acabaram vindo a ser incorporadas depois nos celulares Android e no próprio Google Maps que nós vemos na web. Essa, no fim das contas, é engraçada porque é a penima do Jobs com a maioria dos seus concorrentes. É a penima do Jobs com Bill Gates, no fim das contas. O software é bom, mas ele é feio, ele é difícil de usar. O lado da engenharia foi muito bem pensado, o lado da interação com o ser humano não foi.